In this episode, we're going to argue about what the world's worst instrument is. Stay tuned.
Yeah, it's just something like I looked at my life and I looked at my wife like I did something right. Look, I'm not.
What is going on, guys? This is the Empowered People Podcast, the EP. I'm going to keep saying that till you guys start saying it. But the Empowered People Podcast, Tuesday Tune-Up, where we focus on more stories, give less advice. I'm your host, Josh Levin. And sorry, but Steph just opened a can of Diet Coke because he loves aspartame and cancer. Don't know if that's medically been proven, but say it loud enough and sometimes people believe things, right? That is not what this podcast is about. But guys, I don't know if you have a love for instruments. Like you grew up just playing the piano and reading sheet music and you just love instruments, but I wish I did. And the older I get, the more I wish I just enjoyed instruments. And I wanted to tell you about the instruments I freaking hate. Okay, number one, the trumpet. I have never heard a trumpet that wasn't the biggest loudmouth that overshadows everything else going on in the band. It is so freaking loud and obnoxious. Have you ever heard somebody say sound the subtle trumpet? Right, it's so loud and obnoxious. It might be the Josh Levin of instruments. That might be why I hate it so much, but that's not the worst instrument. Okay, the other worst instrument is not a saxophone. While I love Lisa Simpson, I've been watching The Simpsons start to finish, Treehouse of Horror, but it is not the saxophone. The instrument that I hate the most is the violin. The violin is the most hated instrument, and let me tell you why. So I am a massive fan of Sherlock Holmes. I love Sherlock Holmes. I've read every short story. I've read every novel. I absolutely think he's the greatest superhero ever to live. He doesn't only see, he observes. And one thing that Sherlock does is he has a cocaine addiction. Not a good thing. But he also plays the violin. He teaches himself. He plays the violin to think. If you watch the BBC Sherlock series, you'll see Benedict Cumberbatch playing the violin, sucking at the beginning. And of course, by the end, he's a freaking amazing violist, I don't know what they call it, plays the violin. And so for the longest time, I was like, man, Sherlock plays the violin. I want to play the violin. I should get into violins. And I went to Guitar Center and I'm looking at violins and I'm looking at them online and I'm thinking about buying a violin. And no joke, one time there was a credit card purchase for a violin for like an $1,800 violin on my credit card. I'm thinking, holy crap, did I sleepwalk to a music store and buy a violin? No, it was the wrong charge. I was buying microphones for the podcast and they charged me for a violin. I've never bought a violin. And the reason I hate it is because for so much of my life, literally maybe the last 10 years, maybe for the last 10 years, I've lived in this world where I kind of always felt like I was missing out. Like, man, I wish I could have learned when I was younger. Oh, if I started now, oh, I should do this. It was, oh, I should blank, always regarding the violin. Until one day I realized I don't really care about the violin. I love the violin. I think it's a beautiful instrument. I know I said I hate it. Stay with me with the point. But I realized that what I was doing is I was projecting myself. I was trying to be Sherlock Holmes. I was trying to go, man, if he dresses this way, I want to dress that way. He plays the violin, I want to play the violin. I want to, and I'm wishing my life away, wishing I was somebody different that is fictitious, that isn't even real. And what I want to say to you, or what I want to say about this story, is I had to realize I didn't want that. I didn't want it. I thought I did, but I didn't really. And many of you right now are doing the same thing that I did with Sherlock and the violin, but it's, oh man, this guy's really involved in real estate. I should have rental properties. You know nothing about construction. You don't have any money in savings. You don't have a realtor's license, but but you're missing out. That's how you protect wealth, is you buy multifamilies. You invest in real estate. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Or you're a woman and you're like, oh my gosh, I should be a writer. This person's such a good writer and they're poetic and I'm just not creative. Like, I wish I wrote poetry. I should write poetry. Why don't I write poetry? And deep down, you don't like poetry. Like, I go to the Nelson Atkins Art Museum once a year, especially in the modern art thing, just to remind myself, I kind of hate art. I look at it, I don't understand it. Yeah, cool, big marble statue of a lion. whatever, okay? Doesn't impress me, doesn't do anything for me. But I put myself out there, but it reminds me it's not what I want. You cannot live your life getting on Instagram and trying to be what other people are. The world has a million other people, billions of other people. There's only one you. What do you want? Not what do they say you should want, not what do they say you should care about, none of that crap. At the end of the day, I could have bought a violin. I could have spent $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 on a violin and lessons to what? Impress my kids? To like join the local YMCA and play what is the thing? Carol the bells, like when people go Christmas caroling, like knock on your door, super awkward, and play the violin. Would that impress you? Would that help my faith, my family, my future, my finances? No, it wouldn't. Well, what's it going to do? I don't want it. What do you want? I know this is like a simple podcast. You're like, but that's a profound answer because it's going to dictate whether or not you are happy with your day. Because I wasn't happy. I was disappointed. Gosh, man, Sherlock is so good at the violin. I should be like him. No, I should be like me. Who cares about real estate? Who cares about marketing? Who cares about building a brand on social media? Who cares about all this stuff? Because if you don't, then don't care about it. Don't pursue it. What do you want? If you want to pick up the violin, by all means do that. But I think you cannot live your life based on what other people are doing. What do you want? Guys, have a great week. We'll talk next week.
Hey, shine like gold. They don't want story, man. They want the soundbite. I'm like, no. Look around like they see you on the mountain. They don't see you on the climb. Right? Me and all of mine in the power line. Look at this and what you find. Right?